The massive view screen flickered in the dimly lit command center as streams of data poured across its surface. High Lord Marcus of the Dominion stood motionless, his golden robes reflecting the soft blue light of the holographic displays surrounding him. His eyes narrowed as he studied the newly discovered planet, a small blue marble hanging in the vast darkness of space. Another primitive world, he muttered, his voice carrying across the silent chamber. The other council members shifted in their seats, their attention fixed on the central display. Yet this one seems different. The chief scientist, Dr. White, stepped forward, his white lab coat standing out against the dark metal walls. "My lord, our long-range sensors show something peculiar about this planet they call Earth. While they appear to have minimal space presence, their energy signatures are unusual." Marcus turned, his cybernetic eye glowing faintly. "Unusual how?" "They have no colony ships, no major space stations, and their satellites are primitive." "But," Dr. White paused, adjusting his data pad, "their power output is far higher than it should be for their apparent level of technology." The council chamber erupted in murmurs. Lord Marcus raised his hand, silencing the room instantly. "Could they be hiding something?" "Impossible," General Brooks interjected, his battle-scarred face tight with certainty. "Our sensors can detect technology across 50 star systems. We've conquered worlds far more advanced than this Earth. They're probably just inefficient with their energy use, like most primitive species." Meanwhile, on Earth, deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, Admiral Stone stood in a very different command center. The room hummed with quantum computers and holographic displays, showing the approaching Dominion scout ships. Unlike the ornate chamber of the Dominion, this room was practical, efficient, and packed with technology that would make their would-be conquerors' heads spin. "They took the bait," Stone said quietly, watching the alien ships probe the outer solar system. His weathered face showed no emotion, but his eyes sparkled with anticipation. "Just like we planned." Captain Wells, his second-in-command, nodded. "The surface installations are working perfectly, sir. All our primitive satellites are broadcasting exactly the right signals. The Dominion's seeing exactly what we want them to see." Stone walked to the central platform, where a three-dimensional map of Earth's defense grid floated in the air. To any outside observer, these defenses would be invisible. Humanity had spent centuries developing technology that could hide from even the most advanced sensors. "How long have they been watching us?" Wells asked, though she already knew the answer. 3 months, Stone replied, touching the hologram to zoom in on the Dominion scout ships. "Exactly as our predictive AI said they would. The Dominion never changes their conquest patterns. Always the same arrogance, always the same mistakes." Back in the Dominion Council chamber, Lord Marcus had made his decision. "Prepare the Planet Crusher fleet," he commanded, his voice echoing off the metal walls. 500 ships should be more than enough to handle this primitive world. We'll add Earth to our collection, just like all the others." Dr. White bowed slightly. "The fleet will be ready in 7 standard days, my lord." "Should we send the standard warning message?" "No," Marcus smiled coldly. "Let's surprise them. These humans have never seen a proper space fleet. The shock alone might make them surrender without a fight. It would be more efficient that way." As the council members filed out of the chamber, none of them noticed the tiny quantum fluctuation in the corner of the room. Hidden from their sensors, a microscopic probe transmitted everything back to Earth. Admiral Stone received the transmission and allowed himself a small smile. "And now it begins," he said softly. He turned to his crew, all of whom had trained their entire lives for this moment. "Send word to the defense grid. Tell them to stay hidden until my mark. Let's show the Dominion why humanity chose to appear weak." The pieces were set. The game was in motion. And humanity was playing with rules the Dominion didn't even know existed. The Planet Crusher fleet emerged from hyperspace at the edge of Earth's solar system, their massive ships blocking out distant stars. High Commander Reed stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Imperial Sword, watching as his 500 warships formed into attack position. Each vessel was bigger than Earth's largest city, their hulls gleaming with weapons that could crack planets. "Status report," Reed commanded, his voice firm and confident. He'd led 30 successful planetary conquests, and Earth would be number 31. "All ships reporting ready, sir," his tactical officer replied. "Our long-range scans show no defensive fleet, no space stations, and only basic satellites. Earth appears to be completely vulnerable." Reed smiled. This would be the easiest conquest yet. "Begin recording the victory log," he ordered. Day 1 of the Earth campaign. The primitive humans remain unaware of our approach. Their obsolete detection systems. "Sir." The sensor operator's startled voice cut through the bridge. "I'm detecting an energy spike from Earth's moon." Reed frowned. "Show me." The main screen lit up with sensor data. For a brief moment, there had been a massive power surge from the dark side of the moon, but it vanished as quickly as it appeared. "Probably some kind of primitive nuclear test," Reed dismissed. "Continue approach." Meanwhile, in the underground command center on Earth, Admiral Stone watched the Dominion fleet's every move. The lunar sensor pulse had worked perfectly. It looked like a glitch to their instruments, but it had mapped every ship in the enemy fleet down to the smallest detail. "All ships identified and tracked," Captain Wells reported. "The quantum targeting grid is ready. Should we power up the defense system?" Stone shook his head. "Not yet. Let them come closer. The closer they are, the more impressive the demonstration will be." The massive view screen showed the Planet Crusher fleet approaching Mars. Stone watched as smaller ships broke off from the main fleet to establish a blockade formation. They were using standard Dominion invasion tactics, exactly as predicted. Back on the Imperial Sword, Reed was preparing his victory speech. "The fleet will reach Earth in 6 hours," he announced to his officers. "Prepare the standard surrender broadcast in all Earth languages. Tell them they have 24 hours to submit to Dominion rule, or we'll begin planetary bombardment." His communications officer worked quickly, but then paused. "Sir, we're detecting unusual patterns in Earth's electronic communications." "Explain." "Their global network. It's too organized. Their data flows are too efficient for a primitive species. It's almost as if—" "You're overthinking it," Reed interrupted. "They probably copied the technology from some crashed alien ship. It happens on primitive worlds sometimes." The officer nodded uncertainly and returned to his work. None of them noticed that their own communications were being monitored, every word translated and analyzed by Earth's quantum AI systems. In the mountain base, Stone received another update. "Admiral, the enemy fleet has crossed the Mars threshold. They'll be in range of our defense grid in 2 hours." Stone nodded and opened a channel to all Earth's hidden defense installations. "This is Admiral Stone. Today, we reveal ourselves to the galaxy. For 300 years, we've hidden our true capabilities, developing our technology in secret, while the Dominion conquered world after world. They believe us weak. They believe us primitive. Today, we show them how wrong they are." He turned to his crew, their faces reflecting the same calm determination he felt. "Power up the quantum generators. Begin charging the gravitational manipulation grid. And most importantly, maintain our disguise until the last possible moment. Let them come to us, confident and arrogant." The trap was almost ready. Soon, the Dominion would learn why humanity had chosen isolation. It wasn't out of fear. It was out of patience. The Planet Crusher fleet emerged from hyperspace at the edge of Earth's solar system, their massive ships blocking out distant stars. High Commander Reed stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Imperial Sword, watching as his 500 warships formed into attack position. Each vessel was bigger than Earth's largest city, their hulls gleaming with weapons that could crack planets. "Status report," Reed commanded, his voice firm and confident. He'd led 30 successful planetary conquests, and Earth would be number 31. "All ships reporting ready, sir," his tactical officer replied. "Our long-range scans show no defensive fleet, no space stations, and only basic satellites. Earth appears to be completely vulnerable. Reed smiled. This would be the easiest conquest yet. Begin recording the victory log, he ordered. Day 1 of the Earth campaign. The primitive humans remain unaware of our approach. Their obsolete detection systems. Sir, the sensor operator's startled voice cut through the bridge. I'm detecting an energy spike from Earth's moon. Reed frowned. Show me. The main screen lit up with sensor data. For a brief moment, there had been a massive power surge from the dark side of the moon, but it vanished as quickly as it appeared. Probably some kind of primitive nuclear test. Reed dismissed. Continue approach. Meanwhile, in the underground command center on Earth, Admiral Stone watched the Dominion fleet's every move. The lunar sensor pulse had worked perfectly. It looked like a glitch to their instruments, but it had mapped every ship in the enemy fleet down to the smallest detail. All ships identified and tracked, Captain Wells reported. The quantum targeting grid is ready. Should we power up the defense system? Stone shook his head. Not yet. Let them come closer. The closer they are, the more impressive the demonstration will be. The massive view screen showed the Planet Crusher fleet approaching Mars. Stone watched as smaller ships broke off from the main fleet to establish a blockade formation. They were using standard Dominion invasion tactics, exactly as predicted. Back on the Imperial Sword, Reed was preparing his victory speech. The fleet will reach Earth in 6 hours, he announced to his officers. Prepare the standard surrender broadcast in all Earth languages. Tell them they have 24 hours to submit to Dominion rule, or we'll begin planetary bombardment. His communications officer worked quickly, but then paused. Sir, we're detecting unusual patterns in Earth's electronic communications. Explain. Their global network, it's too organized. Their data flows are too efficient for a primitive species. It's almost as if. You're overthinking it. Reed interrupted. They probably copied the technology from some crashed alien ship. It happens on primitive worlds sometimes. The officer nodded uncertainly and returned to his work. None of them noticed that their own communications were being monitored, every word translated and analyzed by Earth's quantum AI systems. In the mountain base, Stone received another update. Admiral, the enemy fleet has crossed the Mars threshold. They'll be in range of our defense grid in 2 hours. Stone nodded and opened a channel to all Earth's hidden defense installations. This is Admiral Stone. Today, we reveal ourselves to the galaxy. For 300 years, we've hidden our true capabilities, developing our technology in secret, while the Dominion conquered world after world. They believe us weak. They believe us primitive. Today, we show them how wrong they are. He turned to his crew, their faces reflecting the same calm determination he felt. Power up the quantum generators. Begin charging the gravitational manipulation grid. And most importantly, maintain our disguise until the last possible moment. Let them come to us, confident and arrogant. The trap was almost ready. Soon, the Dominion would learn why humanity had chosen isolation. It wasn't out of fear. It was out of patience. High Commander Reed paced on his bridge, watching the countdown timer. 40 minutes remained of Earth's deadline, and his sensors were showing increasingly disturbing readings. The space around his fleet was becoming a web of gravitational distortions, though nothing was visibly there. Launch probe drones, he ordered. I want to know exactly what we're dealing with. The drones shot out from the Imperial Sword, small unmanned ships designed to analyze unknown threats. As they approached the nearest gravitational distortion, something impossible happened. One drone simply vanished. Not destroyed, just gone, as if it had never existed. What just happened? Reed demanded. His science officer's face had gone pale. Sir, the drone didn't just disappear. According to our readings, that section of space doesn't exist anymore. It's as if someone cut out a piece of reality itself. In the mountain base, Admiral Stone watched the Dominion's probe disappear into one of their quantum storage pockets. He turned to Dr. Miller, Earth's lead quantum physicist. Show them the next phase. Dr. Miller nodded and typed a series of commands. Around the Dominion fleet, tiny points of light began to appear, hundreds of them, each no bigger than a marble. They looked harmless, almost beautiful, like a field of stars. "What are those lights?" Captain Wells asked. "Quantum anchor points," Miller explained. "Each one is a doorway to an artificial pocket universe we created. With one command, we can transfer anything near those points into contained storage. Ships, weapons, even people, all safely preserved but completely removed from our spacetime." On the Imperial Sword, Reed's crew was growing increasingly nervous. Their sensors showed that each tiny light could generate enough quantum energy to swallow a capital ship whole. It was technology so advanced it seemed like magic. "Sir," his tactical officer reported, "we're detecting similar lights appearing throughout our entire fleet formation. We're completely surrounded." Reed gripped his command chair tightly. In 30 years of conquest, he'd never seen anything like this. "Power up our shields. Prepare main weapons, if they want to fight." "Sir," his science officer interrupted, voice shaking. "Long-range scans are showing something else. The humans, they've had this technology for centuries. We're detecting quantum date markers in their defensive grid. They didn't just build this, they perfected it while we thought they were primitive." In the Earth base, Stone opened a communication channel to the entire Dominion fleet. "Attention Dominion forces, we are now activating our defensive grid for demonstration purposes. Please observe." He nodded to Dr. Miller, who pressed a single button. One of the quantum anchor points flared briefly, and a Dominion destroyer simply ceased to exist in normal space. The ship and its crew were perfectly preserved in a pocket universe, but to everyone watching, it seemed to vanish instantly. "Your vessel and its crew are unharmed," Stone announced. "They've been transferred to a contained space-time bubble of our creation. We can return them at any time." This was just one anchor point. As you can see, we have thousands. Reed watched the demonstration in stunned silence. His mighty fleet, the pride of the Dominion, was helpless. Their most powerful weapons would be useless against an enemy who could simply remove them from existence. 25 minutes remain in your departure window," Stone continued, his voice still professionally calm. "I suggest you use them wisely. To show our good faith, we will return your destroyer once you begin your retreat." In the mountain base, Captain Wells looked at the tactical display showing the Dominion fleet's position. "Do you think they'll actually retreat, sir?" Stone smiled slightly. "They don't have a choice. The real question is, what will they do once they realize they're not the most advanced civilization in the galaxy anymore?" The quantum anchor points continued to shine, a glittering web of light that demonstrated humanity's true power. The galaxy's greatest empire was about to learn a hard lesson about judging by appearances. High Commander Reed had 15 minutes left to make his decision. The quantum anchor points surrounding his fleet glowed with increasing intensity, like stars about to go supernova. His tactical display showed no weaknesses, no gaps in Earth's defense grid. "Sir," his first officer spoke quietly, "the crew is asking what our orders are. Should we retreat?" Before Reed could answer, alarms blared across the bridge. Multiple ships reporting critical gravitational distortions. The sensor officer shouted, "The humans are doing something." On Earth, Admiral Stone and Dr. Miller watched their quantum grid reach full power. "Begin the containment sequence," Stone ordered. "Let's show them what happens when they ignore our warnings." Dr. Miller's fingers flew across his control panel. Quantum bubbles forming, starting with their outer defense line. In space, the effect was both beautiful and terrifying. The quantum anchor points suddenly connected with lines of pure energy, forming a complex geometric web around the Dominion fleet. 20 ships on the outer edge vanished instantly, transferred to pocket universes. "Return fire," Reed commanded, his voice cracking with desperation. "Launch all weapons." The Dominion fleet released their full arsenal, planet-killing missiles, energy beams that could vaporize continents, and gravity torpedoes designed to tear worlds apart, all of it useless. Each weapon disappeared into quantum storage before reaching its target. "Sir," his weapons officer reported, "nothing is getting through. The humans are catching our attacks in those quantum bubbles. They're not even bothering to dodge." In the mountain base, Captain Wells monitored the Dominion's attempts to fight back. "Their weapons are impressive," she noted. "They really could destroy planets with those." "Yes," Stone agreed, "which is exactly why we developed countermeasures centuries ago. Humanity learned early that the galaxy wasn't always friendly. We just chose to wait until we were ready." He turned to Dr. Miller. "Show them the next phase." The quantum web began to pulse with new energy. Now ships in the middle of the Dominion fleet started vanishing, replaced by empty space. The precision was incredible. Earth's defense grid could pick out individual vessels from tight formations without affecting the ships next to them. On the Imperial Sword, panic was setting in. 40% of the fleet is gone," the tactical officer reported. "Our shields are useless against their quantum technology. We can't even track where our ships are being sent." Reed watched helplessly as his mighty armada was systematically dismantled. The ships weren't being destroyed. That would have been easier to accept. They were being removed from reality itself, stored away like toys being put back in their box. "Send the surrender signal," Reed finally ordered, his pride breaking. "Tell them we'll retreat." But Earth wasn't finished with their demonstration. Admiral Stone opened a channel to the remaining Dominion ships. "Your time is up, Commander Reed. But don't worry, we're not as cruel as you would have been." The quantum web pulsed one final time. The remaining ships, including the Imperial Sword, found themselves in a massive pocket universe. Through viewing windows created by Earth's technology, they could see their new temporary prison, a perfect replica of space, but completely contained. "This pocket universe will hold you for exactly 1 hour," Stone's voice explained. "When you're released, you'll find yourselves back at the edge of your own territory. Consider this a learning experience. Humanity values peace, but we've spent centuries preparing for war. Remember that before you think of returning." Reed stood silently on his bridge, watching the strange stars of their artificial prison through the viewscreen. In a single day, everything the Dominion believed about their place in the galaxy had changed. They weren't the most advanced civilization anymore. They weren't even close. And somewhere in the digital archives of the Imperial Sword, the ship's computer updated the threat assessment for Earth. Approach with extreme caution. Technological level, beyond Dominion understanding. Threat level, maximum. Inside the pocket universe, High Commander Reed watched the artificial stars through his ship's viewport. The Imperial Sword floated in this strange space along with the remains of his once mighty fleet. Their sensors showed the pocket universe was only a few light minutes across, yet it felt endless. "Time in containment, 45 minutes, the ship's computer announced. The crew sat in tense silence, waiting for Earth's promise of release to either prove true or false. "Sir," his science officer called out, "I've finished analyzing the quantum technology they used against us. It's beyond anything in our records. The energy required to create these pocket universes would be enormous. The fact that they can generate and control hundreds of them simultaneously." Reed nodded slowly. "They've been hiding this power all along. While we conquered primitive worlds, they were perfecting technology we didn't even know was possible." On Earth, Admiral Stone and his team prepared for the fleet's release. "Dr. Miller, begin recording the message we'll send with them." The quantum computers hummed as they compiled data about Earth's defensive capabilities, carefully selected to show enough power to deter future attacks while keeping their most advanced technologies secret. They included footage of the fleet's capture, technical readings of the quantum grid's power, and a simple diplomatic message. "Are you sure we should let them all go?" Captain Wells asked. "They might come back with a bigger fleet." Stone smiled slightly. "That's exactly why we're letting them go. The Dominion needs to see that we could have destroyed them, but chose not to. And they need to take that message back to their empire. The massive view screen showed the contained fleet from multiple angles. Earth's quantum sensors could see inside every ship, monitoring the crew's reactions. Most sat in stunned silence. Some worked frantically to understand what had happened, and others simply stared at their useless weapons controls. "Transfer the message package to all their ships," Stone ordered. "Make sure it's integrated into their core computer systems where they can't delete it." Inside the pocket universe, Reed's communication officer suddenly straightened in his chair. "Sir, we're receiving a data transmission. It's enormous. They're giving us detailed scans of our own fleet's capture, plus technical readings of their defensive systems." "Show me," Reed commanded. The main screen filled with images and data. He watched his mighty fleet being systematically contained by technology that shouldn't exist. The power readings were astronomical. "That's not even their full capability," his science officer noted, voice shaking slightly. "These readings suggest their quantum grid was operating at less than 30% capacity. They were just playing with us." A new message appeared on all screens throughout the fleet. 5 minutes until release. Prepare for transit." Reed straightened his uniform. "Send this message to all ships. Upon release, maintain formation but take no aggressive action. We're going home." The artificial stars began to fade. The pocket universe shimmered like heat waves over hot pavement. Through the distortion, they could see real space beginning to appear. In the mountain base, Stone watched the final phase begin. Release them precisely at the 1-hour mark. Place them exactly 50 light-years from Earth, facing away from our solar system. Dr. Miller nodded. "Quantum transition beginning in 3, 2, 1. The pocket universe dissolved. The Dominion fleet found itself exactly where promised, far from Earth, facing their own territory. Every ship's computer now contained proof of humanity's power, and a simple message: the galaxy is larger than you imagined. We chose isolation to perfect our defenses, not out of fear. Remember this day. Remember that Earth showed mercy when you would have shown none. Peace is always an option, but if you return with hostile intent, what you saw today was only a fraction of our capabilities." Reed stared at the message for a long moment before giving his final order. "Set course for the capital. The Emperor needs to see this immediately." 3 months after the failed invasion, the Dominion's capital world buzzed with nervous energy. The Emperor himself sat on his crystal throne, watching the replay of Earth's defense grid in action for the 100th time. His most trusted advisors stood in silence as the images showed their mighty fleet vanishing into quantum storage. "And you're certain about these power readings?" the Emperor asked, his voice tight with concern. High Commander Reed, now bearing the marks of his failure in his demoted rank, nodded. "Yes, my Emperor. Our best scientists confirm it. The humans were operating their defense grid at minimal power. Their true capabilities are far beyond our understanding." In the Grand Hall, the holographic display showed Earth's message yet again. The Emperor had made everyone watch it daily, a reminder of their gravest mistake. "We spent centuries thinking we were the peak of civilization," he said quietly, "all while this isolated world was surpassing us in ways we couldn't imagine." Meanwhile, on Earth, Admiral Stone stood in the garden outside the mountain base, enjoying the fresh air. Captain Wells approached with a data tablet. "The latest reports from our quantum probes stir. The Dominion is dismantling their conquest fleets. They're converting their warships into research and exploration vessels." Stone smiled. "Fear can motivate change, but it's hope that maintains it. They finally understand there's more to learn about the universe." The quantum detection grid suddenly pinged. A single Dominion ship had appeared at the edge of the solar system, broadcasting peaceful intentions on all frequencies. Unlike the warships from before, this one was smaller, clearly designed for diplomacy rather than combat. "They're requesting permission to approach Earth," Wells reported. "It's a diplomatic vessel carrying their ambassador of peace." "Let them come," Stone replied. but maintain the defense grid at standard power. Trust is earned slowly. The Dominion ship approached Earth carefully, its sensors detecting the quantum anchor points that still surrounded the planet like a protective web. Inside, the ambassador prepared for humanity's first official diplomatic contact with the Dominion. In the Mountain Base's conference room, Stone watched the ship's approach on the monitors. Dr. Miller joined him, carrying new research data. "The quantum grid's performance exceeded our expectations," he reported. "We could probably expand it to protect the entire solar system now." "Good," Stone nodded, "but let's keep that capability quiet for now. The Dominion learned their lesson about underestimating us. We shouldn't make the same mistake." The diplomatic ship landed at the designated coordinates in the Nevada desert. As the ambassador descended the ramp, he carried both official documents and a gift: technical data about all known civilizations in the galaxy. It was a peace offering, but also an admission. The Dominion finally acknowledged they weren't the most advanced species anymore. Stone met the ambassador personally. As they shook hands, a human gesture the Dominion had carefully studied, both knew this was more than just a diplomatic meeting. It was the beginning of a new era in galactic politics. "My Emperor sends his personal apologies," the ambassador began. "We have much to learn from Earth. Your technology, your patience, your strategy, even your mercy. We hope to earn your trust and partnership." Stone's response was simple, but carried the weight of centuries of human preparation. "Earth welcomes peaceful contact with all civilizations. We isolated ourselves not out of fear, but to ensure we could enter the galactic community on our own terms. Those terms are simple: respect, peace, and mutual growth." As the sun set over the desert, the quantum defense grid glowed faintly in the sky, a reminder to all that humanity's path to the stars had been carefully planned. They hadn't rushed to join the galactic community. They had waited, prepared, and emerged not as conquerors or victims, but as equals worthy of respect. The age of human isolation was over. The age of human influence had begun.